This is the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. We have assembled the world's finest sports and trivia dorks to prove once and for all that we are just as bad at this as we were at sports.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, sports trivia for those of us that rode the pine. I'm your host, Josh, and today's game will be pitting the Benchwarmer team of Marcus and David versus Benchwarmer Dan and returning player and an equipment manager for our Patreon team, Austin Owings. Welcome back to the bench, Austin. Why don't you take a minute to remind us about yourself?
Hey, thanks for having me. Mariners and Oregon State fan, Baltimore Ravens fan. Had a fun time last time, hoping we can get the record to 1-1. Lost a heartbreaker last time, but excited for this one.
Well, I'm not playing, so that's a benefit for you. So
you scored all our points, so
and Dan, how are you doing? And let us know what your and Austin's team name is going to be.
I've had tinnitus for the last 5 days, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. If I don't have something going on, like some noise or something going on, it drives me insane. Like literally, I'm a step away from being insane here. And apparently, Austin didn't tell the story, but apparently he hit himself on the head with a barbell.
Yeah, I had a team training yesterday for weightlifting, and the cue is supposed to be keep the bar close. I kept her a little too close, got myself right here in the front of the forehead, and I have a nice little knot on it. So that leads to our team name.
Yeah. So with that happening to Austin, and with my constant ringing in my ears, we're going to be a swift breeze away from a concussion, or just Swift Breeze for short, for you, Josh, just for you.
Well, at least it's a swift breeze away from a concussion rather than into a concussion. But all right, Marcus and David, I don't know who wants to share team name, who wants to go first, but let us know how you're doing.
I'll go first since Marcus can give you the team name. I made a proposal for the team name and Marcus riffed on it, so he deserves full credit. But I'm good. We're actually recording this on Mother's Day, and of course, this episode won't be coming out for a while, but I do want to say Happy Mother's Day to all mothers out there. And so that's it. But I'm good. I'm ready to play. Let's do this.
The two of you that listen to this show.
It doesn't matter. It's the principle of the thing, Dan.
I am doing well. Also, shout out Mom, Regina. I love you. And I got her a Magic Johnson. She grew up in LA. Magic Johnson's her favorite player. And I got her a Magic Johnson Funko Pop. Wearing that I think it was the 92 All-Star Game jerseys. Anyway, so that was fun. Got to hang out with her today, and excited to be here. And Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness came out this weekend. Saw it at 9:50 a.m. yesterday to a mostly empty theater, which is my preference. And because the Mariners have just been kicking it into overdrive in mid-season form, we're going to be the multiverse of sadness.
All right, so we have a swift breeze away from a concussion versus the multiverse of sadness. Should be a good one. Let's kick it over to Dan without the ringing in his ears for the rules.
We'll be starting off with the coin flip question to warm up the teams. This will be followed by 4 quarters of play, each with a different trivia style. The styles of quarters 1 through 3 will change from show to show, and I will explain them as we go along. Like any good sporting event, we will have a halftime show after the second quarter with entertainment questions pertaining to sports. And in the fourth quarter, our teams will wager from their points accumulated to see your today's clipboard captains to be honored like the true benchwarmers they are. All right, let's get this game underway.
It's time for the coin flip. A 50-50 warm-up question worth 10 points. And since, Austin, you are a guest, a swift breeze will get to call the coin flip question. Question is, which country has won more Olympic medals in weightlifting? France or Italy?
I know Nino Pizzolatto is currently winning medals. Is this only Olympic medals, correct?
Only Olympic medals, correct.
Okay, not world champions.
What was that name again?
His name is Antonio Pizzolatto. He's very good. He's currently, I'm trying to think if he medaled in Rio. I'm pretty sure he medaled in Tokyo. I think he got third. And I don't think that the smaller, I don't remember his last name, Bernard, I don't think that he's in the medal contention much. Are these male and female or just male?
I think it's overall.
Okay.
That's the best I can do right now.
Dan, do you have any input on this, or am I flying solo here?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Sorry, it wasn't a snooker question.
I'm going to go with my gut and trust Nino and go with Italy.
What was his last name again?
Pizzolatto.
Pizzolatto. I like Pizzolatto. I really do.
I think we have a new most Italian name of all time.
All right. So you guys have checked in with Italy. Well, let's start with France. France has won 9 gold medals, 3 silver medals, and 3 bronze medals for a total of 15. Italy has won 5 gold medals, 5 silver medals, and 7 bronze medals for a total of 17 medals. Woo! So the correct answer is, in fact, Italy. So
you did a
Swift
great job
Breeze,
making me nervous there.
So Swift Breeze will be getting the 10 points.
Austin's carrying me this game.
Well, heading into the first quarter, we have a score of a Swift Breeze with 10, and the Multiverse of Sadness, they are pretty sad at the moment because they've had no chance to get any points.
Before we get to the first quarter, we wanted to let you know that we are on Patreon if you'd be interested in supporting us financially. Your contributions will be used to help us cover the costs that it takes to bring you the high-quality sports trivia you have come to expect from us. There's also some great perks that come with the Patreon membership to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, including bonus episodes and Benchwarmers swag. You can find us at patreon.com/benchwarmerstp. Thanks.
And well, guess what? Today, I choose chaos. So the first quarter will be Lucky 7.
Lucky 7. For this quarter, there will be 3 lists containing 7 items. The team that is trailing coming into the quarter will choose the first list and attempt to identify the items on this list one at a time. If the team has an incorrect guess, the other team can attempt to finish that list out. The team leading at the beginning of the quarter will select the second list, and whichever team is trailing after the first 2 lists will get the third list. Each item is worth 10 points.
When Josh starts breaking the rules, then it is chaos.
It is at this point.
Yeah,
look out.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen next?
Gloves are off.
All right. Well,
cats and dogs living together.
Multiverse of Sadness. Since you are losing by 10 points, you will get to pick the first category, the first list that you would like. The lists are list number 1. The schools that won the NCAA baseball championship between 2000 and 2009. List number 2, NFL career leaders in interceptions thrown. List number 3, the last 7 unique winners of the Formula One Drivers' Championship.
We're going to go with list number 2.
All right. So Multiverse of Sadness is going to be working on the list of the NFL career leaders in interceptions thrown. So why don't you guys come up with your list and let me know when you got that ready for us.
All right. We're going to check in.
Okay. Multiverse of Sadness has checked in. They're about to start letting me know their list of NFL career leaders in interceptions thrown whenever you guys are ready.
All right. I'll start us off here. And we're starting off with Brett Favre, or also known as Favre.
Brett Favre, number 1, with 336 interceptions thrown.
Our second, you just want me to run this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
That's great.
Okay.
Yep.
I didn't know if we were alternating. Second, we'll go with George Blanda.
George Blanda's number 2 on the list with 277 interceptions thrown.
Next, Vinny Testaverde.
Vinny Testaverde is number 4 on the list with 267 interceptions thrown.
Next, Fran Tarkenton.
Fran Tarkenton, number 5 on the list with 266 interceptions thrown.
John Hadel.
John Hadel is number 3 on the list with 268 interceptions thrown.
Great call, David. Johnny Unitas.
Johnny Unitas, number 7 on the list with 253 interceptions thrown.
All right. Had to make a tough call on this last one, but let's fingers crossed. Dan Marino.
Dan Marino is number 8 on the list with 252 interceptions thrown. So there is one name left on the list at number 6 that Swift Breeze, you guys can try to come up with.
I like that.
Which one?
You guys can talk out loud.
Yeah, I mean, I type Manning, and then
we like to be secretive. Sorry.
Which one?
Yeah, I mean, I think Eli threw more bonehead interceptions, but Peyton probably threw more, especially at the end. And he also threw the ball a lot more, especially in Denver.
There was a old guy played for St. Louis Cardinals that threw a lot and played a long time. What was his name? Jim Hart played a long time.
The Anvil?
Yes, but that was Neidhart though.
Sorry.
I don't know. You're right. Peyton Manning threw a lot of balls around.
A lot. And he threw his fair share of interceptions, 200. I don't remember the number ranges he was being between there, but I feel like he fits in there.
I feel he's got to be up above 250, right?
I would think so. I took the coin toss. I'll let you take this coin toss. Decide between Peyton or Mr. Hart there.
We'll just say Manning. How about that?
Well, one of them didn't crack the top 10.
Okay.
He's just outside the top 10. And Peyton Manning is number 9 on the list with 251 interceptions.
If Peyton Manning was the answer, would you have let us get away with just Manning?
No.
Okay.
I would have asked you to be specific. But since he wasn't the answer, I figured we'd just roll with it. Number 6 is Norm Snead, who threw 257 interceptions. So,
you gonna ask it, Marcus, or you want me to?
I
was going to do it since
Oh yeah, hey, let's let our guests hit him with it.
That's a big time who from me.
All right, just give me a second here. I didn't. He's back a ways back. Norm Snead played
60s,
20s.
He was drafted in both the AFL and the NFL in 1961. He played from 1961 to 1976. He had one season with the Minnesota Vikings in 1971.
All right, I know that name. You're right. Now I know that name.
I liked your Jim Hart answer. I really thought that was. I think he's up there too. I thought about him, but I just didn't think he was high enough.
So the name rounding out the top 10, that's all I have, is a new podcast favorite, Y.A. Tittle, through 248.
Young adult
Tittle. All right, so Swift Breeze. Have you guys picked a list between
I think Austin's already
baseball
picked this
championship?
List.
He's a big F1 fan?
I do like the baseball list.
So a Swift Breeze away from a concussion is going to be working on list number 1, which is the schools that won the NCAA baseball championship between 2000 and 2009.
We're checked in.
Okay, so Swift Breeze is checked in, and they are going to work on giving me their list of schools that won the NCAA championship between 2000 and 2009.
I'm going to let Austin keep doing the heavy lifting here, so go ahead.
Okay, we absolutely have to start out with the OSU, Oregon State University. And if you look it up, they were founded both before Ohio State and Oklahoma State. And I've been waiting to do this for a long time, but we are the true OSU.
That's fine that you can claim to be the original. You got to get that "the" off the front. I'm sorry. It's not allowed for any OSU. Do you not listen to this podcast and who
No,
the
that's
host is
fair.
right
No,
now?
he doesn't listen to you, Josh. You're the only one that goes after people for saying that.
That's because it's stupid.
It is stupid, and I hate it.
All right. Yes.
So the Oregon State Universities.
That's correct.
Oregon State won in 2006 and 2007. They are correct.
Our second answer is going to be LSU.
LSU also won twice in 2000 and 2009. They bookended it.
Third answer, we're going to go with Fresno State.
Fresno State won in 2008.
The next answer is going to be Rice.
Rice won in 2003.
The next answer is going to be Cal State Fullerton.
Cal State Fullerton won in 2004.
Our next answer is going to be Texas.
Texas also won twice in 2002 and 2005.
And let's hope we pull it out here. Our last answer is going to be the University of Miami.
Out of what state?
Florida.
Miami, Florida won in 2001. You have successfully completed the list and will be receiving 70 points.
Nice work. I only had 2 for sure because I had MVP NCAA baseball 06, so I knew Texas won in 05, and then obviously Oregon State because they're always very, very good.
3 times.
So, with the fact that they scored more on the lists and they had an extra 10 points already, Swift Breeze, you are in the lead. So that means Multiverse of Sadness, you guys get the first crack at list number 3, the last 7 unique winners of the Formula One Drivers Championship.
No, thank you. We'll take another one, please.
Yes, pass.
I mean, you can pass and get 0.
No.
No.
We're do that.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're not going to do that. But also, no, thank you.
We're checking in.
All right. So, Multiverse of Sadness, let's start hearing your list of people you think are belong to the last 7 unique winners of the Formula One Drivers Championship.
So we're going to start with the Lewis Hamilton.
I'm all right if you say that about a person, that's fine.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
The Lewis Hamilton has won many times. He's won 7 times recently, most recently in 2020, but then he won all the way back to 2017 for that 4-year stretch. He won in 14-15 and also his first one back in 2008.
Okay, our next one, I think, which is the end of our obvious ones, is Michael Schumacher.
Michael Schumacher is number 8 on the list.
Oh, no.
You're kidding me.
He most recently won in 2004.
Oh, I should have gone with Marcus's guy. God, we have more guys.
Schumacher also won 7 times, but started in 94, 95, and then 2000 to 2004. Like I said, he is just off the list. So,
Marcus,
Swift Breeze,
we stink. I'm sorry.
You guys can work on coming up with the other 6 possibly from this list.
Okay.
Well,
We
Josh,
can start with Verstappen.
We can start with him.
Are you checking him in?
Yes, we'll check in with Verstappen.
Yes, Max Verstappen won in 2021.
And then there was a guy early 2010s that made had a run of a few. I want to say I think it's Vettel, Vettel.
Sebastian Vettel, yes.
Yeah.
Sebastian Vettel won from 2010 to 2013.
Josh,
Okay.
you ruined.
So he's 4th on the list. Just like he's 4th on the list of the most recent.
You ruined a question that I wrote. I was working on writing one for a game, and it's the guy who wins in the middle of the everything. He's the guy who comes out of nowhere, and his name is Nico Rosberg.
3rd on the list in 2016 is Nico Rosberg.
Okay. There was a Spaniard that won mid 2000s.
Nigo Montoya.
No good. No too many Spaniards. I don't remember his name though.
I don't either. I know who you're speaking of. I don't recall his name. I'm looking back at our list.
There was also another Finnish guy, not Hakkinen, but the other one.
That Hakkinen was the one that came to my mind, I believe. So it's on you for that one.
I'm not going to pull it. I just know that there's another one. There were two of them. Hakkinen was one, and then the other guy won it later.
Do we have any other guesses yet?
I mean, Hamilton's won since the mid 2000s, and then
I remember he won one way back, and then he took a break from winning, and then he decided he wanted to win again, and he started.
And then Sebastian Vettel would have been the one in there. So we're going back to the mid 2000s here. So I know there's a Spanish guy. I know there's a Finnish guy. I don't have their names.
If we don't have a name, should we just try Hakkinen just in case?
Sure. I think he's too early though. I think he was before Michael Schumacher. But yeah, well, I mean, if we don't have anything else though, we may as well go with it. Yeah, that's fine.
We'll check in with the Finnish guy that's not Hakkinen.
Oh, unfortunately, I can't accept that as an answer, but I can accept Mika Hakkinen as an answer, which, Dan, you are correct. He was actually in between the Schumacher runs. He won in 98 and 99. So you'll hear the names in just a second, Dan, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, that's it. First, 5 on the list back in 2009, a one-time winner, Jensen Button. Number 6 on the list in 2007 was Kimi Räikkönen.
So that would be the other Finnish guy.
And the guy who has been back for 2 seasons now, racing again in F1, who won in 05 and 06, that would be Fernando Alonso.
Spanish guy.
Spaniard.
We knew exactly who they were.
I'm pretty sure I've never heard of Jensen Button. But if you told me that he started out driving really old and that he got younger as the races went on.
Swift Breeze, you guys got 30 to Multiverse of Sadness's 10 on that list. And that gives us scores at the end of the first quarter of Multiverse of Sadness has 70, and a Swift Breeze away from a concussion has 110. That brings us to today's second quarter, which will be 5 on 3.
Five on 3. For this quarter, there will be 3 categorized lists containing 5 items, where each item is worth 10 points. The teams will attempt to guess as many items as they can. However, if a team has an incorrect guess, they will receive 0 points for that list.
All right. List number 1 in 5 on 3. I'm looking for the top 5 active leaders for Major League Baseball manager ejections.
So, Marcus, I'm fairly confident with the list that I sent you.
Hey, if you're confident, David, let it rip. I trust you.
All right, we're gonna check in.
All right. Multiverse of Sadness has checked in. So Swift Breeze, you guys can talk it out and let me know when you've reached your confidence list for this question.
Okay, so
we have 3 that were pretty.
Austin,
sure.
I'm pretty positive on 4 of the 5 that you said.
I
think LaRussa, Madden, Francona, and Girardi for sure.
And then the 5th one I said was Dusty Baker.
Yeah, I think he's famously level-headed. I know he's managed a lot. I don't think that he's going to be up there.
I guess the reason I was going that direction is kind of what those guys were talking about, is he's just been around forever, and all these new managers are people that we grew up watching play. I don't think they've been around long enough to blow up like that, you know?
Oh, what's his name? Who's the guy that just went to San Diego from Oakland? He was in Oakland forever. Bob Melvin. He is probably up there.
He has been around forever. I think we can go off of your premise. I think that those 2 are very similar in tenure, like overall. And you're right. I think Dusty is pretty calm. I think we could put him as our fifth.
So Melvin is our fifth.
Yeah.
So LaRussa, Madden, Francona, Girardi, Melvin. Do you want to
That
go
would be
5 or should we just go the 4?
4. I'm confident in 4. If you're confident in 5th, I trust you.
It's going to be a close game. I say we just go 4 and then. All right,
Okay.
we're going to go with LaRussa, Madden, Francona, and Girardi.
Okay.
Check those in.
And Multiverse of Sadness. What did you guys have for your list?
So we're actually checking in with the same 4. We were throwing around Dusty Baker, and very similar conversation because Marcus threw out Dusty, and I said he's managed a lot, but he tends to be calm. Were my words, and he's very level-headed, as Dan said. And after we agreed to do the 4, I actually was kicking around Bob Melvin as well. But we ultimately checked in with LaRussa, Madden, Francona, and Girardi.
Well, both teams will be getting their 40 points. Number 1 on the list is Tony La Russa, who's been ejected 91 times in 35 seasons. Number 2 on the list, Joe Madden, he's been ejected 58 times in 19 seasons. Number 3, Dan, you had it. Bob Melvin has been ejected 51 times in 19 seasons. Number 4, Terry Francona, 44 times in 22 seasons. And a guy who likes to get kicked out a lot, Joe Girardi, number 5, 42 ejections in 14 seasons. After that, you have Don Mattingly, 36 in 12 seasons. Buck Showalter, 33 in 21 seasons. Bud Black, 32 in 15 seasons. And tied for 9th with 23 ejections is Dusty Baker and Craig Counsell, who is at 23 in 8 seasons.
Nice.
So,
he's getting after it.
all right, so good job, both teams, getting your 40 points.
The first major league game I ever saw in person was at Yankee Stadium. And boy, this is dating myself, but Earl Weaver got kicked out of the game and Yankee Stadium went bananas because he was, he just carried on and on and on. It was pretty unbelievable. So there you go.
Okay, let's move on to list number 2, which I'm looking for the main starting 5 for the 2021-22 Gonzaga Bulldogs men's basketball team. Just to let you know, 3 of these players started every game. The other 2 started all but 1 game. So that's what I mean by main starting 5. They virtually started every game as a starting 5.
Do you want to go with that?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good on that.
All right. We're going to check in again.
All right, Multiverse of Sadness has checked in. So Swift breeze away from a concussion. You guys can talk it out.
Know what there is to talk out, man.
I've got Drew Timme and the guy who's 20 feet tall and weighs 100 pounds and somehow plays effectively in the post.
I didn't realize Sean Bradley was.
like I told Dan, I watched exactly 2 college basketball games this season. I work with a diehard Gonzaga Bulldog fan, and my favorite thing to do was come in and work on Monday and remind him that they lost. So I'm almost no help here, unfortunately.
I mean, you're more help than I am. I really don't pay attention to college basketball until the tournament, and then Gonzaga. For some reason, they're always on when I'm not paying attention.
Well, do you have anything? Because
No.
I know
Drew Timme's the only one I knew. So
we can just play it conservative and just go with Drew Timme because we don't know any other names anyway.
yeah. So do you have anything on the tall guy?
If it's one of those things where the second I heard his name, I would know who the person is, but I just can't reach it at the moment.
Yeah.
I could draw a picture of him. It would be a stick figure the size of the page.
That's appropriate. That is absolutely appropriate.
Let's see.
All right.
Stick figure
Yeah.
the size of the page. Sorry.
All right. Let's just go for the 10 points and yeah.
Drew Timme. It's our only answer. Check him
All
out.
right. And Multiverse of Sadness, what did you guys check in with?
Well, I pay attention to quite a bit of college basketball. I gambled a lot on it this year, and obviously Gonzaga is supreme in Washington, so they're always on TV, it seems. So we also have Drew Timmy. We're going to check in also with gangly, 100 pounds, 20 feet tall, number one recruit, possibly number one pick in the draft, Chet Holmgren.
That's the guy, Chet.
I think
his name is Chet.
Chet
Yeah.
Holmgren. He's like 7'1", and I'm pretty sure you're right. It's like 123 pounds.
Went to Minnehaha Academy.
Yes, he's a Minnesota product. So then our third answer that David and I both agreed on. I know he has a brother, so I'm not going to do a first name, but Nemhard is our third answer. And David felt pretty confident on a fourth. So we are also going to check in with Bolton.
Well, everybody is getting their points again.
Ooh, nice, David.
The main starting five were Racer Bolton, Minnesota's own Chet Holmgren, Andrew Nembhard, Drew Timmy, and Julian Strother.
Oh, yeah.
The only two other players who started one game each were Matthew Lang and Will Graves.
Nice, David. Yeah,
Oof.
Chet Holmgren. He's going to be, to me, if he's going to be any good, and like obviously he's got all the tools, it's going to be a Giannis type like path for him to get good. Like it's going to be like 5 or 6 years because he is just so frail right now.
He's got
it
to
punked.
He's got to bulk up. That's what I can never figure out about the NBA is that they'll pick a guy who's, 7'1" and a stick figure that fills the page. So
because sometimes they turn out to look like
Kevin Durant.
Giannis Antetokounmpo in 4 or 5 years.
Yes, for sure. But more often than not, they don't.
Well, I mean, Sean Bradley had a run. Granted, he was 6 inches taller, but that guy was a stick figure his whole career too.
Yeah, but here's the question: if you got Sean Bradley as the number one pick in the NBA draft, I know he played okay for a while, but would you be satisfied? I would argue you would not.
I mean, he was drafted pretty high, wasn't he?
He was. I think he was
Sean
2 or
Bradley?
3. But
I
my point is just that I would call that a failure of a number 2 or 3 pick. If you get a mid first round, sure. But anyway.
Okay. If you want to talk about failures of top 3 picks, we Timberwolves fans could give you a list for days, starting with Christian Leitner. But anyway, I digress. Let's move on to list number 3.
Flynn.
Oh, God. Let's move on to list number 3, which is the top 5 Major League Baseball players with the most hits in the 1990s.
I know that sounds weird, but just hear me out, man. I it's one of those weird.
Yes, I agree with you because, to quote our host, I learned a lot just from being a part of this podcast.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm good on that.
I was all ready to get five Formula One drivers and then say this is all from listening to the podcast, and then I bombed on 2. So
okay. If you feel confident, David, again, I'm
all right. Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll check in.
Hey, Multiverse of Sadness has checked in. Swift Breeze, you guys can talk it out.
Okay. I know Mark Grace led the 90s. So he's going to be there. I'm fairly confident in Craig Biggio and Tony Gwynn. Those are the 3 I'm very confident in, actually. Then Robbie Alomar played the entire decade and had a lot of hits. So he could very well be high up there. Griffey and Ripken are interesting. I think both of them have a lot of hits. I don't know if they're quite up there, though. They're close, I bet. But if we're just looking at the top 5, I don't know the numbers that well to go more than 3, maybe 4. So I don't know are you okay with those three? Should we just go with those three?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm also, if you're confident in one of the other ones and you want to try for Ford, doesn't.
I think I just want to go with Grace Biggio and Gwyn, if that's all right with you.
Yep, that's fine.
All right. We'll check in with Grace Biggio and Gwyn.
Okay, and Multiverse of Sadness, what did you guys check in with?
So we also remembered from this podcast that Mark Grace is this weird anomaly that led the 90s in hits. And so we had Mark Grace. We also checked in with Craig Biggio and Tony Gwynn. And then we got bold because we were throwing around some names. Marcus reminded me that Griffey was hurt in the middle of the 90s, and that may have hurt his chances. So we also checked in with Roberto Alomar. And then the name that is often on these lists, but is sneaky, we decided to go with the guy that nobody ever wants to guess, and that's Rafael Palmeiro. So we checked in with 5: Grace, Biggio, Gwynn, Alomar, and Palmeiro.
Well, before I tell you who gets points, let's talk about the list. Number 1, you guys have both identified correctly, was Mark Grace with 1,754 hits. I do believe that both the 80s and the 2000s, the leader had over 2,000 hits for a decade, but this was not the greatest hits decade. Number 2, Rafael Palmeiro with 1,747. Wow. Number 3, Craig Biggio with 1,728. Number 4, Tony Gwynn with 1,713. And number 5, Roberto Alomar with 1,678 hits.
Ooh.
Number 6 was Ken Griffey Jr. at 1,622. Number 7, Cal Ripken Jr., 1,589. Number 8 was Dante Bichette. Number 9, Fred McGriff. And number 10, St. Paul's own Paul Molitor.
Wow.
And there were a lot of people that were hitting for lots of hits in the 90s that spanned decades, like mid 80s to mid 90s or mid 90s to mid 2000s.
Correct. So just though it contained from 90 to 99, it wasn't a shining 10-year span necessarily. Although Mark Grace, the guy could hit. He hit really well.
Yeah. And David, that thing I remembered about Griffey in 95 really helped us get off of that, because he broke his wrist in the middle of 95 and came back for the playoffs. And yeah, that I can't believe he was 6. That's, man,
that great is amazing in itself. Yeah.
Great pull though.
Ooh, I'm tired now. I think I'm
all
spent.
Right. After the second quarter, we have a lead change. A swift breeze away from a concussion is at 190, but Multiverse of Sadness, they're a little less sad right now. They have 200. And that brings us to halftime.
It is now time for the halftime show. There will be 3 entertainment questions pertaining to sports, with each question worth 25 points.
Question 1. What is the name of the longtime NBA halftime act who flips ceramic bowls onto her head from her feet while riding her 7.5-foot tall unicycle?
Is it this?
I believe that's right. I cannot believe you said that.
I've seen it enough times. I think that's right.
To me, that's more impressive than getting 5 hitters from the 90s.
Incorrect. but we'll check in.
All right, Multiverse of Sadness has checked in, so Swift Breeze, you guys can talk it out.
I don't know if I'm coming up with a name. I've seen them live. I can't. You don't have anything on this, do you?
Are you headed there?
I don't know.
This will be the most amazing if he has to go there to get this.
Is he on his way?
Austin, I just got to tell you, there are no warning signs when he's going. It just happens. It's not like there are exit signs on the side of the road and then suddenly he's gone.
Well, there used to be exit signs. David took him down.
Do you know who we're talking about here?
I know exactly who it is. I've seen the act and everything on TV and all that, but I have absolutely no idea about the name.
I don't. Okay, let me think here. I know I've seen her at Target Center before.
Thought you were just going to say at Target.
At Target, she was spinning the plates, writing down aisle 6C. It was weird.
The unfortunate thing is there's people in sports with names like Flip Saunders, and they waste it on that rather than somebody who does that, you know?
He was getting malto meal.
Oh, wait, no. Okay, you saying that helped out. The name isn't a real name. Now that it's oh man. Okay, now if I can pull it. It's not like her real name. It's they call her shoot. I can get there. I can do this.
Uh-oh.
We all believe in you, Dan.
And there we go.
Oh my God. On a halftime
Mind
question. This is amazing. I didn't think there was information this trivial.
I can't
in
believe
the
that
Mind Palace.
Flip Saunders triggered him
of all
to
things.
get this.
I'm just
it
here
ever
to do my part for the team, man. That's all I can do.
has
Come
he
up
ever
with names.
gone and come back without it? Oh
No. If he
Okay.
goes, he's coming back with a name.
Red Panda.
Checking that in.
I'll check that in.
Okay. And Multiverse of Sadness, what did you guys have?
I am not even mad because watching Dan pull something like that, an entertainment type thing out, if the Mind Palace is worth it. We also checked in with Red Panda.
I don't know how Flip Saunders got him to go to the Mind Palace for the answer, but the correct answer is indeed Red Panda.
I was thinking too hard on like a person's name. And then when Austin said, they gave up all the great names like Flip Saunders, and that kind of just made me think about it. Wait a minute. It's not a real
Correct,
name.
because the name of her act is the
Right.
Red Panda. So on Thanksgiving Day in 1993, Wrong New received an invitation to perform at a home game for the Los Angeles Clippers, who needed a last-minute replacement for a canceled act. In the subsequent season, she performed during halftime of over 40 NBA games. She has since regularly performed at NBA games, including the Timberwolves, and has also frequently performed during halftime shows of college basketball games. It's crazy. If you haven't seen the Red Panda act, look it up on YouTube. It's amazing. She shouldn't be able to do that, but she can.
We went from flipping bowls to Flip Saunders to Red Panda, and no one's even mad that we got there.
Nope,
Not at all.
not at all. That was awesome.
It's worth
All
the
right,
price
well-
of admission.
Let's move on to question number 2 and see if another journey to the Mind Palace is needed.
It's a lot easier to find things now that I've gotten it cleaned up.
Now that you don't have an intruder.
Sorry about that. Cleanliness has never been my strength.
All right. Question 2. In a 2012 episode of South Park, after learning that kickoffs have been banned from elementary school football due to fears of serious injury, Randy Marsh protests at a PTA meeting and jokingly suggests implementing a ridiculously safe and emasculating new game called what?
We can check in.
I kind of figured since Marcus was here, it would be a fast check-in. So Multiverse of Sadness is checked in. Swift Breeze, you guys can talk it out or head to a Mind Palace.
I'm not going to have this in the Mind Palace. It's not there.
I know I've seen the episode because in college all we did was watch South Park on repeat, but it's one of those things where it was playing in the background while we were studying. And
Yeah, I'm studying right now too.
yeah,
me
exactly.
too.
Yeah. And I don't exactly remember
Okay, are you aware of it? Are you aware of this?
yeah, I know I've seen the episode because I've seen pretty much all of them, but the name,
So is it something ball?
No, I don't believe so. I know that this isn't right, but
You can use the Mind Palace if you think it'll work.
no, I got my third
What
eye.
gives? What?
My third eye is blocking me.
Invite only.
Exactly.
And that's what happens when you break statues and puke in the
Graffiti
punch
them.
bowl, David. You don't get to come back.
The only things that I can think of are like patty cake or tummy sticks or something dumb. But I know that it's something original that the writers. I don't know if I'm going to pull it.
Okay, well, I'm not. So you feel free to answer whatever you think might work. My only thought would be just knowing their sense of humor. I'm thinking ball has to be in the name. It's got to be something ball.
It might, and it for some reason either styrofoam or bubble wrap are feeling like they're involved, and I just can't. You call it styro ball or something. I don't know. Bubble ball I think is too mainstream for them.
They're the ones that created basketball too.
It's true. One of America's greatest sports movies, right?
Damn right.
Absolutely.
I love that movie, but no, it doesn't need to be on the. No, we were
top 10.
We were wrong.
No, Mount Rushmore.
We can go with something stupid like styro ball. I don't think either of us has anything else.
Oh, I know I don't. I'm just
okay. Let's just do that then. I know that's wrong, but I'm not sure what it is.
You know, with styro ball.
Yeah.
All right, and Multiverse of Sadness, or Marcus, if you just want to let them know what the answer is.
Yeah, Dan, it does have ball in it. Definitely does. And they had to wear tinfoil hats, and it's definitely very non-contact. We're checking in with Sarcastaball.
Sarcastaball.
One team will be receiving points. The correct answer is indeed Sarcastaball. And as Marcus said, Randy states that the boys will wear bras and tinfoil hats.
Yes, bras.
Use a balloon instead of a ball, and give hugs and compliments to the opposing team instead of tackling them. I initially had and sarcastically suggests, but then I was like, wait, I should probably change that word to jokingly because it was part of
this game's so much better than football.
And then they go on to actually, the PTA thinks it's a good idea and actually implement it and make Randy Marsh the head coach of the South Park team. Oh, anyway, let's move on to question 3. 2 Naismith Basketball Hall of Famers voice Lego caricatures of themselves in the Lego Movie 2, the second part. One played college basketball at Oregon State and the other at Texas Tech. Name them both.
Yeah, agree.
okay. That makes sense. But we need them both, huh?
And would you assume that the Texas Tech guys in that same era?
Probably for the people the adults that they're going after in this. Texas. Oh.
And I know why he just owed. Because we had that 30 seconds ago.
That's it.
Yep,
yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep. We'll check in.
Okay, Swift Breeze is checked in, so Multiverse of Sadness, you guys can talk it out.
So as soon as Josh said Naismith winner from Oregon State.
Well, it's not winners, it's Hall of Famers.
Oh, it's Naismith Hall of Famers. No, I understand that,
right.
But I'm saying
okay.
From Oregon State. That's what I meant to say. So from Oregon State, though, I immediately went to Gary Payton. And then we were trying to think of anybody from Texas Tech and realized, of course, Josh cleverly didn't say man. So I can't think of, I'm trying to think of, right. So we're trying to think of Texas Tech people who would be Hall of Famers. And then suddenly it dawned on us, maybe it's Cheryl Swoops. So, Marcus, if you're all right with it,
Yeah.
I would go
Good.
Cheryl Swoops and Gary Payton.
Yep. Good with it.
All right, we'll check that in.
Okay. And Swift Breeze, what did you guys have?
Yep. Austin had Gary Payton right away. And you are correct. That was me realizing it wasn't a man and quickly coming to Cheryl Swoops. So Cheryl Swoops and Gary Payton.
Both teams are correct. The correct answers are Gary Payton Sr. and Cheryl Swoops. And I think that they are the only actual basketball players from their schools to be in the Naismith Hall of Fame, because I don't think there's any man for Texas Tech, and I'm not sure about if there's any other women. And I think the only other Oregon State were coaches who are in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But really,
Ralph Miller, probably. He was a longtime Oregon State coach.
Yeah.
Other than
that,
AC Green's the only other good player from Oregon State that has a chance at getting close to that.
Other than that, I have no real flavor text here, other than all things Lego are delightful. And I'm starting to become addicted to them as a mid-40 something. Apparently that's my midlife crisis, is Lego. All right, well, after halftime, Multiverse of Sadness is increasing their lead. They currently have 275, and a Swift Breeze away from a concussion is at 240. Now on to the second half.
We'd like to take a minute to invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at BenchwarmersTP. We also have a Facebook group for fans of the pod called The Bench. Join us there to comment on the latest episodes and share cool sports facts and trivia. If you'd be willing to rate and review us on iTunes or Stitcher, we'd greatly appreciate the support so that other people may find this podcast. Thanks.
Today's third quarter will be the odd one out.
The odd one out. For this quarter, there will be 3 categorized questions containing lists of 6 items. The teams will attempt to choose the item from the list that does not fit the given category. Each question is worth 50 points.
Question 1. I want you to tell me who's the odd one out for the top 5 career 3-point field goal percentage leaders for active NBA players. The list is Desmond Bane, Seth Curry, Stephen Curry, Joe Harris, Luke Kennard, and Klay Thompson.
All right.
We'll
check in.
All right. So Swift Breeze has checked in. So Multiverse of Sadness, you guys can talk it out.
All right. I know, like I said, Desmond Bane has a ridiculous percentage. It's only I think this is his second or third year, and that's all. I mean, this is the first year he's really had any other game besides the 3-pointer, and also TCU alum.
I seem to remember, because I was looking at this list not that long ago, in part because I think Steve Kerr is still number 1 on this list all time.
Right.
And the reason I was looking is that UNC coach Hubert Davis, also very high on this list. But the all time, right. But in terms of active people, my temptation was to go with either one of the Currys, but I'm pretty sure it's not Seth, because I think he is super high. I think it's actually just based on just volume, that it's either Steph Curry or Klay Thompson. And my temptation is Klay Thompson, but I don't have a strong lean.
So I agree that it's probably between those two. And I would lean Steph only because Klay missed, it felt like almost 2 seasons. So he's just got a lot less shots. And now, granted, when he came back this year, he couldn't. He started off pretty poorly.
He was shooting very poorly. This is the thing about Klay Thompson. The only reason why I was tempted to go with him is that he seems like the kind of guy who comes out and goes like 10 of 12. And then other days and I mean, Curry does the same thing. Other days, it seems like he's 2 of 14. So I don't know how that adds up over time. You're right. He did miss a lot of time, gosh, this is rough.
If you have a stronger feeling on Klay, David, I'm more inclined to go with your gut than mine, because you're smarter than me. So
No, not for this kind of stuff. Not for current NBA. I'm not. I'm kind of second. I'm sort of not playing know the host, but I'm sort of trying to get inside Josh's head. Because
It's a useless thing to try and do.
you
You think that, okay, have you not seen I mailed in this episode already? It's all these lists. This is not I was clever this week. There's nothing to grasp onto.
David, if you like Clay better, I'm good with going for it.
All right, we'll check in with Klay Thompson.
Okay, and Swift Breeze, what did you guys check in with?
Well, I latched onto Clay pretty quickly, and Austin said, because of the volume, and I said, yeah, it's exactly why I thought about that. So, and I'm pretty sure that Steph is up there. So we also went with Klay Thompson.
Okay, well, let's talk about the list. Number 1, Seth Curry, 43.95%. Number 2, Joe Harris, 43.9%. Number 3, Desmond Bain, 43.45%. Number 4, Stephen Curry, 42.76%. And number 5, Luke Kennard, 42.5%. And Klay Thompson is correctly not in the top 5, but he is 6th with 41.68%. So good job, guys. Question 2 in the odd one out. I want you to tell me who's the odd one out from the top 5 WTA singles most consecutive weeks, ranked number 1. Your names are Ashley Barty, Chris Evert, Steffi Graf, Martina Navratilova, Monica Seles, and Serena Williams.
Do you want me to share some thinking with you with this one, Marcus? Are you just completely?
I don't think they're checked in. I mean, you can if you want, or you could if you're confident enough. You can just check in. I'm good. I'm good either way.
I'm gonna check in.
Yeah, baby.
All right, the multiverse of sadness has checked in. Swift Breeze away from a concussion. You guys can talk it out.
So the inclusion of Barty here, unless this is a banana in the tailpipe, means she's most likely on this. Unless she's 6th, which I suppose could be.
Of these names, the only name that I don't immediately recognize as like one of the great women tennis players is Barty.
Right. And I'm thinking that's what means she has to be on here. Is that unless he's just taking 1 through 5 plus number 6, and she happens to be number 6.
I guess the only other thing that, as far as where all these ladies rank in their timelines, is that there's got to be someone who interrupted someone else and just cut their time down.
So Chris Everett, I wrote a question about Everett and Navratilova for the ESPN, the 30 for 30 game that I wrote. And she was bookended by Navratilova and had a massive streak in between there. So I think she's there. Graf and Williams were both really high. And
how do you know that they were high?
Well, I mean, I don't know. No, she's synonymous with she's synonymous with Beyonce. And you know about Jay-Z, right? Anyway, all that to say, Monica Seles had a break when she was stabbed. So I think it's got to be her. I think she's got to be a ways down the list.
Okay. That's
so
fine with me.
Because I just know that Navratilova has an ungodly number, and Graf and Williams were both way up there.
Yeah. I agree with
all right.
And then Everett, I also agree with being on the list for sure.
Right. So we'll check in with Monica Seles.
Okay, and Multiverse of Sadness, what did you guys check in with?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure Barty got on this list because she hit 100 straight weeks as world number one, and I don't think that many people have done that because it was, it's kind of a big deal. It's like 2 straight years. So with most of the same logic that Dan just laid out, we also checked in with Monica Seles.
All right. Well, let's go through the list. There are 2 players tied for first with 186 consecutive weeks, and that would be Steffi Graf and Serena Williams.
Told you they were high.
Number 3 on the list, Martina Navratilova, 156 weeks. Number 4, Ashley Barty, 114 weeks. And number 5, also over 100, Chris Evert with 113 weeks. So the correct answer is indeed Monica Seles. She had a 91-week stretch, which makes her 7th overall longest stretch, because the 6th also belongs to Steffi Graf with 94. So Graf had 2 long stretches. Good job, guys. Let's move on to question 3. So I want to know who's the odd one out from the top 5 NFL tackles for loss career leaders. Your options are Jared Allen, Von Miller, Julius Peppers, Terrell Suggs, DeMarcus Ware, and J.J. Watt.
We'll check in.
Hey, Swift Breeze is checked in, so Multiverse of Sadness, you guys get to talk it out.
Yeah, I agree with Peppers. Longevity, played for a long time.
Peppers and Suggs of this list played for the longest time, I think. So
I mean, Ware played pretty long also.
Yeah, just Peppers played for, I've been like 16, 17 years.
Yeah.
So Ware, you're right. Ware did play a long time. Wait, so who are we down to then? If we take out the guys on longevity, that takes out Suggs, Ware, and Peppers, we're pretty sure that Watt has to be on this list.
Yeah.
So who does that take us down to?
Von Miller and Jared Allen.
Von Miller and Jared Allen.
So the thing with Von Miller is that he's still active.
Right. So he could still be climbing up the list, but that doesn't mean he's in the top 5, right?
Right. And then Jared Allen, like I said, with Jared Allen, he to me of all these guys is probably the least well-rounded, I guess, as a player in my head. I may be completely wrong because that's, part of, living where Austin and I live. It's not like we see a ton of, I didn't see a ton of Kansas City Chiefs or Minnesota Vikings games, your scoreboard watching basically. And obviously he's up there in sacks. I don't know. Like I said, my first glance guess was Allen. And Miller being active is really throwing a wrench in it.
I think our logic is pretty sound that Allen or Miller is probably the right guy. If you feel like it's Allen, then is the odd one out. Then let's go for that. I will have no ill will whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to prove that I'm bad at this, I think. So we're going to check in with Jared Allen.
Okay. And Swift Breeze, what did you guys have?
We had a lot of similar conversation. We kind of narrowed it down, and we ended up checking him with Von Miller. But I have a sneaking suspicion in my gut there's a banana in the tailpipe possibility here, and I'll explain it if it comes up what I think that it could have been. I just have a hunch that J.J. Watt has a lot of like pass breakups and great plays, but maybe not as many tackles for losses as he does sacks and other stats. And I think that there's some, if you tricked me, it's on that. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
But
Well, let's take a look at the list, shall we? Number 1, Terrell Suggs with 202. Number 2, currently still playing, J.J. Watt, 177. Number 3, Julius Peppers, 175. Tied for 4th, DeMarcus Ware with 171. And he is tied with Jared Allen for 4th with 171. Actually, 6th is Calais Campbell with 161. And Von Miller is 7th with 154. So Swift Breeze got that one correct. Unfortunately, Multiverse of Sadness did not. So after the third quarter, we have the following scores. We have once again had a lead change. Multiverse of Sadness is at 375, but a Swift Breeze away from a concussion is up to 390.
Support for today's Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. All of us here at Benchwarmers received the Performance Package as a part of our Manscaped sponsorship, and I can speak with authority that it is filled with all sorts of goodies. I highly recommend you give it a try. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping when you use the code BENCH at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 8 million balls. So don't forget, use the promo code BENCH, BENCH, at checkout, manscaped.com.
And that brings us to the fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter, known as Put Your Fours Up. This quarter consists of 4 categorized questions that teams will wager up to 100 points each, not to exceed their current point total.
Based on my quarter styles from today, the categories for the fourth quarter are as follows. Question 1, 7, in reference to the NHL. Question 2, 5, in reference to the NBA. Question 3, 3, in reference to Major League Baseball. And question 4, 1, in reference to the NFL. It is now time for the teams to place their wagers. Now that the wagers are in, on to the questions. Question 1 in the category of 7. What center for the Arizona Coyotes became the first player in over a decade to record at least 7 points in one game when he scored 2 goals and had 5 assists on March 5th, 2022?
We'll check in.
All right, Swift Breeze is checked in, so Multiverse of Sadness, you guys can talk it out, or David, you can ramble on the microphone.
Vamp. I can vamp.
David, get out of the Mind Palace now.
I'm going to get this.
Oh, no, he went!
The deluxe apartment. He's going, baby.
Boy.
Just snuck right past my security.
I was like, oh, if it's not current, default Coyotes answer, Keith Kachuk. I'm going there every time without fail. That's the name. I just said it to him. I was like, hey, Keith Kachuk. And he's
I've got it. I've got it. Thanks, Dave. I've got it. The only reason I remember this is this one caught my eye, not because I pay that close attention to hockey, but I was trying to remember because I know the guy has a Yiddish sounding name, and I'm pretty sure his last name is Schmaltz, which is particularly funny because it means, for those that don't know, Schmaltz is actually like rendered chicken fat. There's actually a Yiddish word called Schmaltz, and I'm pretty sure that Schmaltz is the guy's name who had 2 goals and 5 assists. So we're going to check in with Schmaltz.
How many points?
69.
Nice. And Swift Breeze, what's your answer and wager?
We wanted to at least answer with a Coyote, and since we had nothing, we just went with Jeremy Roenick for 61 points.
Well, one team will be getting their points. The correct answer is Nick Schmaltz.
I was a big fan of John Schmaltz in the 90s.
And prior to Schmaltz's 7-point game, we need to go back to February 2nd, 2012, when Sam Gagner scored 4 goals and had 4 assists.
I watched David run right past the guard that I have out there for him.
I mean, I think you could protest this game at the end if you need to, because
You got to
that
remember
feels
to
like a
lock the door when
violation.
you leave.
I just want to remind the people listening to this podcast how incredible it is when you watch Dan and now David. They have these places they can go to, and they just lean back and they're pulling these answers out. It's really, honestly impressive every time.
It's the same place. It's the same place.
No.
He rang the buzzer,
David,
said there was a pizza delivery.
Well, with question number 1, we have a lead change. Multiverse of Sadness is at 444. Swift Breeze is at 329. That brings us to question 2 in the category of 5. Two Hall of Fame players have worn number 5 for the Boston Celtics. However, both players are better associated with a different number for a different franchise. Name both of these Hall of Famers.
Okay.
We're checking.
We're checked in.
Okay, Multiverse of Sadness is checked in. Swift Breeze, you guys can talk it out.
Well,
We both
Kevin
pulled
Garnett was one.
straight away. I would assume that if he's going to ask this question, he's going to have a recent Hall of Famer and a not as recent Hall of Famer. Garnett being the recent.
Right. So who else played for the Celtics?
I guess what I'm trying to think is who of the really, or maybe I'm on the wrong path here, but of the really great Celtics teams who showed up in Boston rather than, guys like Russell that were there the whole time.
Right. Who would have ended their career in Boston as just hanging on still? Bill Walton did that. I don't know if he wore number 5 though. I mean,
I was just going to ask if any of the Lakers of that same era went to Boston after.
He wore number 32 for a long time. Although, you know what? The thing is that like every other number in Boston has been retired already. So there's a possibility that whoever went there would have had to have worn a different number than what they would normally have worn,
Mm-hmm. Did anybody on the Bulls in that or the Pistons in that same era go to Boston?
I don't know why. I don't know why Walton's the only one that's jumping out at me. I mean,
or the Knicks maybe. If all you've got is Walton, then we can go with that.
I mean, that's what I've got right now. I mean, I don't know. I don't think we can try and come up with somebody else. I don't think we have time to come up with anybody else.
I think we're narrowing further down to Walton.
All right, let's go with that then. Let's go with Garnett and Walton for 100 points.
Okay, and Multiverse of Sadness, what did you guys have for an answer and wager?
Yeah, we I was on Garnett immediately. Obviously, David and Dan and Austin, I feel like we were all on Garnett fairly quickly. And when I think of Celtics, there are people that are predominantly known for another, team that went to the Celtics. I went to Bill Walton. I just asked David, did Bill Walton wear 5? And David said yes. So we checked in with Kevin Garnett and Bill Walton for 100 points.
And I want to add real quick, Dan had all the right flavor. It was the mid 80s. Walton went there. He had worn 32 with the Blazers. And when he got to Boston, McHale was wearing 32. So Dan, you were all over it. So that's exactly right. And Walton wore 5.
I was afraid Austin was going to talk you out of the right answer by trying to, throw more. I'm like, you're on it. Don't go.
I on the other hand was really hoping he would. I was like, yeah. Maybe Bill Laimbeer did play for the Celtics.
Both teams are correct and will be getting their 100 points. Bill Walton, who's better known for wearing 32 with both the Blazers and the Clippers, and Kevin Garnett, who's better known for wearing 21 with the Timberwolves. John Thompson also wore number 5 for the Celtics, but he was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame as a coach. All right, well, let's move on to question 3 in the category of 3. Two Major League Baseball players joined the 3,000 hit club by hitting triples. One did so while playing for the Twins, and the other while playing for the Marlins. Name both of these players.
If you're 100%, we got them both.
Yeah, let's check in.
All right, checked in.
All right, Swift Breeze is checked in, so Multiverse of Sadness, you guys can talk it out.
Yeah, so I've looked at this list a lot, poking at trivia questions, and guys who hit home runs for their 3,000th hit, guys who've hit triples. The twin is almost certainly Paul Molitor, because he came back. Well, he went the Brewers, then the Blue Jays for a while, racked up a bunch of hits, came back home to Minnesota, and got his triple. The slightly tricky one is Ichiro is the Marlin, because he obviously racked up whatever it was, probably 2,900 hits with the Mariners, and then ended up with the Marlins. So I am 99% sure it's Molitor and Ichiro. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, I was gonna say this. I actually watched a compilation literally 2 nights ago of Ichiro's like biggest moments of his whole career, and all the end of it is so weird because it's all him as a Marlin.
Yeah,
there's like a couple things at the Yankees, and then it's him as a Marlin.
Yeah,
and then when he got his 3,000th hit in Major League Baseball, it was So I'm on board.
Cool. All right. So Molitor and Ichiro, check in.
For how much?
100 points.
Swift Breeze, what was your answer and wager?
We had the same thing. Dan locked on to Molitor right away, and I locked on to Ichiro right away. It's a shame that he couldn't get it as a Mariner and bring it home, but he's got like 7,000 other hits to be proud of. Well, we checked in with Molitor and Ichiro for 100 also.
Okay, both teams will be receiving their points. The correct answers are Paul Molitor and Ichiro Suzuki. Both players were on the road when they reached 3,000 hits. Molitor's was against the Royals, and Ichiro's was against the Rockies. Let's move on to the last question, question 4. In the category of 1, who is the active leader for extra points made in a career? This kicker's rookie season was 2006.
Do you want to check in, David? Do you feel good enough about it?
I on your original answer, I kind of
Yes.
do. I kind of
Okay.
do.
Okay.
All right.
We're
gonna check in.
Yeah.
All right, Multiverse of Sadness is checked in. Swift Breeze away from a concussion. You guys can talk it out.
Yeah. So I mean,
For
where
about
we're at
50
is
seconds.
that's fine. We think that Vinatieri left New England after their first set of Super Bowl runs, and they drafted Gostkowski. That lines up with like the 2000 or drafted or they acquired him. Around.
We think that lines up with around 2006.
Yeah, and I am fairly certain he's still active.
I mean, who does he play for right now? He's not with New England.
I thought he was in Indy. And maybe that's wrong, but I'm fairly certain he's still active.
When did Mason Crosby come into the league? Was it around then?
I think it was after Gostkowski. I think he's younger.
Okay. Those are the only two I'm considering. And if you don't think Crosby came into the league at that point, then even though I have no idea where Gostkowski plays right now, if you think he's still active, I say we go with it.
I think that's got to be it.
Yeah, I mean, he made a ton of them. It's just a matter of whether he's active. So if you think he's still active, if you're pretty sure he's still active, then let's do it.
All right. I'm fairly certain he is. And hopefully I'm not leading you down the wrong path here, but I think that's the answer.
All right, let's do it. We'll go with we'll check in with Steven Gostkowski
For how many
for
points?
100.
Okay. And Multiverse of Sadness, what did you guys have?
We had a eerily similar conversation. I've been trying to do this lately, like especially when we have lists or like fourth quarter questions. I just like to throw out a name initially, just off the top, and then work from there. And I said 2006 sounds like Gostkowski. I'm pretty sure that was him, but wasn't sure if he, I think because we were both dancing around it, I think he's active because I don't think he's retired. I don't necessarily think he played last year. I'm pretty sure he last played with the Titans. And we were also on Mason Crosby and going back and forth there, but David seems to have confidence in Gostowski. So we also checked in Steven Gostowski for 100 points.
Well, that sucks.
Well, both teams are correct. And yes, Marcus, you hit the nail on the head. He played for Tennessee in 2020. He was a free agent in 2021. Didn't play at all, but he is not officially retired. So on Football Reference, he is deemed an active player on the list. So you guys are both correct. Steven Gostkowski with 699 extra points. He was the only one who's in the top 7 whose rookie year was 2006. Mason Crosby's number 2, 696 extra points. He started in 2007. Number 3, Robbie Gould, 570, started in 05. Matt Prater, 538, started.
Matt Prater, the one that doesn't listen to the show?
Yes, that is correct.
Address him by his title, Drunk Matt Prater.
Ryan Suckup, 446, started in 09. Nick Folk, 426, started in 07. And lastly, Mike Nugent, 385,
The Nuge.
started in 05. So yes, I even was like frantically looking because I was like, I pulled up his wiki and it said 2020. I'm like, oh crap, because Pro Football Reference has him as active because he technically hasn't retired. So you guys both got there. So
I knew once they were talking it out and once they were were discussing, well, what does it mean to be retired? I was like, yeah, David and I had that exact conversation. I don't think he's retired, but I don't think he played last year. So
technically he's still active because
Yes.
he hasn't retired. He's still trying to maybe get onto a team somewhere.
I'm pretty
Somebody
sure
needs to be the number 700.
I didn't
That's why
realize
this-
that was almost as controversial as it could have been. So.
Well, the first thing I texted Marcus when we started was, is George Blanda still active? Because this guy's coming back at any point. So
See, I mean, Pro Football Reference is a pretty respectable site, so I thought I don't need to double check that, do I?
well, I've gone through this with, I can't remember what it was. It was like a Von Miller question or something, and Pro Football Reference doesn't always agree with, is it the footballdb.com? They don't always agree on who's active, and I know there's some controversy around some of that kind of stuff. So anyway,
All
Did
right.
George Blanda just come up twice in one episode?
I mean, he was an
Organically?
answer, and then he was brought up by Knucklehead David.
he's
By
active.
two different as two different positions too. That's
Correct.
yeah, it's true.
Hey, he's actively dead. We know that.
That's also true.
On
Ouch.
that note, the game has come to an end. This game has died. And here are the final scores.
actively dead.
A swift breeze away from a concussion finishes with a respectable 629 points. And our clipboard captains of the game, who are receiving the coveted Trace McSorley Award with 744 points, the Multiverse of Sadness.
Did you pull Trace McSorley just because you know I'm a Ravens fan?
I did.
Wow.
I did indeed.
That's a deep cut. That is a
Coveted
deep
backup Trace was
And
Trace
well,
McSorley.
and initially Eric Ead was going to be on the episode, and he's a Penn State fan.
guy,
So
yes.
Oh,
I thought you can't go wrong there. So yeah, I always like to try and do that for our guests, is find some obscure backup quarterback that
I thought
played
for
their
sure.
team.
I thought for sure you'd go with the fact that Oregon State is backup quarterback you.
Matt
and-
Moore.
Oh man, like
But
we could make
Matt
a
Moore
whole-
has to have been used, hasn't he?
Oh, I'm
I think
sure.
so.
he has.
We've stopped trying to find unique ones.
Oh no, not don't you maybe have stopped.
Yeah.
I do
Oh, I
not
have.
repeat.
I
Clipboard
I just
captains.
forget.
I stress about my backup. Yeah, I stress about them heavily.
There was
Oh, my gosh.
there was a long stretch there in like, I don't know, probably 6 or 8 years ago now, where there was like 5 Oregon State quarterbacks that were all signed backups in the NFL.
Yeah, Sean Mannion.
Yeah.
Moore. Gosh.
Anderson.
Yeah, Ken
Yeah,
Anderson. Yeah,
There,
oh my
there was quite a
gosh.
bit of them. Yeah.
They're also
Ken
like,
Anderson, you say?
or not
Not
Ken
Ken.
Anderson, Derek Anderson. My bad.
Derek, yep.
Yeah, that's I got Ken Anderson on the brain. The goat.
David, I swear, if I go into the Wine Palace and find schmaltz all over the place, I'm gonna be really
I was
upset.
gonna say,
Dude, you won't have to go in. You'll smell it from the outside.
I was gonna say it's really sad that Dan, you and I lost this game because David thought of rendered chicken fat and pulled an answer out of his ass and lost by 130
He
points.
didn't pull it out of his ass. He went into a wing where he hid some knowledge in the Mind Palace.
Pulled it out of his schmaltz.
You gotta lock that door when you leave that thing, Dan.
I swear, he rang the buzzer and said there was a pizza, and the doorman was hungry.
I like to
Distracted.
imagine.
I think your
like to
doorman was
imagine-
high.
I like to imagine David Mission Impossibling it. Like he's
Dropping
he's
down
suspended
from
from the
That ceiling.
No, I think your security guy was getting high with Steffi Graf and Serena Williams.
Yeah.
And they're like, pizza, yeah.
Oh yeah, Pizzolato. We got that. That is. I thought you made that up, Austin. I'm not even kidding. I was like, that's some like generic like, hey, what's an Italian last name? And some guy's like, oh, like Pizzolato.
No, his full name is Antonino. He goes by Nino Pizzolato. I mean, look him up when you're out of here. Pizzolato. He's an impressive dude, and I was glad
With an impressive name.
That
I'm just
That's
hungry
when
for
he made it
pizza
into
now.
the episode. I'm appreciative of that.
But yeah, the little more obscure wheelhouses, they get coin flip questions. That's how
Awesome.
that works.
I've said David, I'm supposed to send you this, but I'm working on writing some questions for a game. And my plan is to make it very obscure and see how well you guys can do here.
Oh boy, I think I'm out of town that day.
That sounds like a Dan, David, and Ede like
1v1v1.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Bring
does.
Jake Manny on for that one.
All right. Well, is there anything you guys would like to say before we call it a night?
Well,
I'm gonna have to employ an off-duty cop or something on the door because David's getting in there way too often now. He leaves a mess every time he's there. He left schmaltz all over the place this time, and I'm done.
He rang the buzzer and said, "There's a Pizzolato at the door." Confused the guy.
I love it. I am going to look this guy up now. Austin, thanks for coming on. Thanks for the support for the podcast. It's great. You're a great guy to have on these things. I don't know anyone who calls himself a weightlifting fan. I mean, I think that's pretty unique unto itself. And I'd happily come on and play a game about obscure sports, but I would do incredibly lousy. Probably about as well as I did on the Formula One question today, where I just completely bombed that. So anyway, yeah. So thank you. And Josh, it was a good game.
I agree with his sentiment. The good lists, questions, good, well-written game. I mean, you gave us all a chance. As far as the obscurity goes, I would like to get the world of strength sports any recognition it possibly can. So if you guys have any questions or what to watch, when to watch, I know you guys watch a lot of like sevens or I guess AFL, other stuff that most people don't other watch. So if I can get the word out about weightlifting, strongman, that type of stuff, I'd love to. So
Actually, I think this is the second time I've had an Olympic weightlifting question. Because I think one of the ones where it was a first time
Indonesian
medalist.
female. Yeah, the Indonesian female who. won the
Hey,
first
look at me.
If you
Weightlifting questions.
if you ask about Magnus Magnuson, I got you. I'm good there.
There you
World's
go.
strongest man.
Yep.
On that note, Josh North and I DVR'd this show. I'm sad it only lasted a season, but The Strongest Man in History on the History Channel. And it Eddie Hall, Brian Shaw, Robert Oberst, and Nick Best all going around and investigating kind of like legendary strongman tales throughout the world and like trying to recreate them. It's pretty fun. I'm sure you could find it somewhere. So
It's a very, very cool show.
I will also echo the thanks of support, Austin. Thank you for being a part of our Patreon team. We really appreciate that. Yeah, and it was fun having you on again. Feel free to come back for more times, and it sounds like we'll have you on as a host. Which makes our load a little lighter at times. So we appreciate that too. So with that, I would just simply like to say thanks for listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. And until next time, we'll keep the bench warm.
And high.
And apparently high.
That ball hit high and deep. Stretch! Get on back there. They look up. You can put it on the board. Yes!
Into deep left center for Mitchell. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
That great music you're listening to is by Justin Nozick. Thanks to him for producing that music for us. You've been listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. Make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We are at BenchwarmersTP.